Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in to the latest episode of One Missing, One Murdered, All Indigenous, which is a true crime podcast dedicated to true crime involving, you guessed it, Indigenous people. And I want to say a great big thank you to everybody that's come out and shown support on all of our platforms, including Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, Podbean. I'm trying, like I said, I'm trying to get on podcast. Apple Podcasts is the one. But just again, thank you to everybody that's shown me support. I know that a lot of people have been tuning in from TikTok, and I want to say thank you to everybody. Really, really thank you to everybody. And to kind of kickstart the new season, I'm going to start dishing these out in seasons, so that way kind of gives me a little break in between like I've been taking, because as you know, life gets hectic for everybody. So I think that breaking these down into seasons is going to be a huge help to kind of help me focus in and give you guys the best content that you all deserve. Now, with that being said, today is a very special episode because I got to sit down with a very special person in my life who has kind of helped me with this show and also contributed a huge major part of what this show has become by adding the show's theme song, not only just from scratch, but from her heart as well. So today I get to sit down with a very close special friend of mine, Raenisa Ridley, who, like I said, created the show's theme song up to this point, and we'll talk about a lot of things about how she came up with the song and what the song means to her, as well as talking about some special things and what she's been doing with her life, as well as some experiences as an Indigenous person. But before we spoil all of that, I just want to say thank you to everybody once again. Thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you guys all enjoyed the latest episode and this great interview with Raenisa Ridley. So we're sitting down talking to Raenisa Ridley, who is actually the one that has come up with the song for the One Missing, One Murdered, All Indigenous. And first of all, Raenisa, I wanted to ask, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing awesome.
That's good. Are you staying pretty safe with social distancing and stuff like that with all this COVID stuff?
I'm trying to. I wear my mask, and it's, being in school too as a cosmetologist, it really takes a toll on you. So you're constantly sanitizing, making sure you're safe and not bringing it home to anyone.
Oh, I know that.
The most of all is I'm staying safe. We're glad that we came this far.
That's good. So before we start off the show, I wanted to say thank you on behalf of all my listeners and everybody that listens to the show. I've gotten a lot of love for the song that you've put out there. And I know it's only been a few episodes that I've put out with it, but it's going to be my theme going forward. But I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time, out of I know you've got full life going with what you're doing, stuff like that, but I wanted to say thank you on behalf of me and myself. I wanted to say thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. I'm very honored. It makes me feel really good to know that I'm doing, somewhat of my part of healing through music. So it really touches me and makes me feel good as an artist to hear that.
Yeah, when we first talked about it, I know I kind of approached you, and this is probably going to lead right into the question that I was going to ask already was, the inspiration behind the song. I know when I first approached you, like the big thing I was talking about was the Fawn Wood song that's out there. I mean, that was a song that I originally wanted to use, but I mean, that's such a big song to try to get,
Yeah.
And so, but when I was, I reached out to you and like I said, I kind of wanted something along the lines of, something to that effect. But I guess I'll just ask you, what really was the inspiration behind the song besides me asking?
So it took a long time to sit there and think what would I do in that situation? if my sister or my brother or my mom or my grandmother, how would I feel? And I put that thought into, that love, that caring, and that question of where are they? But the song that I made was helped by my mom and my good friend Adrian Eaglehawk. So we sat there and we thought as a team, what would sound good, and what would heal people from what they're what they miss in their lives. And it's just I wanted to put out there that you're never alone, even though you feel like you're alone, or like you feel that your loved one is alone. But at the end of the day, our Creator, He's always with us, and He's always walking with us in our journeys of life, even after the afterlife as well. And what inspired me was to see these families that were going through things, and they always had that question of where were you? And mine was to, put them at ease that they weren't alone, in the physical world and also in the spiritual world, that they're not alone, and that Creator is always there with them. And, that song, it means a lot to a lot of people. I've sang it before, and it wasn't just for, the missing and murdered women, but as also for our, people that are dying from COVID, our elders, passing away, our children dying from suicide, and, the ones that are hurting mentally, physically, and emotionally. I try to put that song out there for everyone to feel that healing, and to let them know that they are loved, and that, no matter where they go, Creator is always with you. And that was part of my reason why I wanted to put that out there and put part of my life into it too as well. Being a single mother, you feel alone, you feel lost, and you try to move on to the next step. And you sometimes you forget to pray, and a lot of us do. We do forget to pray. And so that meaning was, Creator is always there. He's always listening. And you're never alone, and you'll never walk alone, because He's there with you. And so it's a really good song, and I put a lot of feeling into it, and a lot of, thought into, a song that could go for everybody. And that was that song. And I really hear a lot of good feedback, and I hope, it touches a lot of people too, for our missing and murdered women, our sisters, that are missing, and their families. And just wanted to let them know that you are not alone, and that they're safe, and that they're okay. And I think that's a lot of questions they ask, is, are they okay? Are they safe? But even, in the afterlife, that they're all right, that they're okay, they're with our loved ones, and that Creator is walking home with them. And that the meaning behind the song is that, Maga Sanai Maniwa Pagatway, that means that Creator is walking home with you, or you're walking with Creator to go home, vice versa, either way. And I wanted to do that for them, do that for the people that are hurting, that are, suffering, and that they find comfort wherever they may be, that they find comfort and love in their families as well. And I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like that you really put not just a lot of thought, but a lot of heart and a lot of feeling and good, and good vibes, good feelings into that song. So I can't imagine how many people really feel a sense of comfort when they hear that song. I know it definitely makes me feel good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's just wanted to, put that message out there for everyone to know that, everything will be okay, and we'll be all right. So it was difficult for me, because I've never had to make a song like that. But then I thought about my relatives that were passing, and I had friends that have gone missing, and it's just it really hurt to see that, and hear things like that, and it's scary. It's scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I just wanted to make people feel good and make people feel happy, and find comfort in that song.
And it's greatly appreciated too. Like I said, I've gotten even on my end, I've gotten a lot of good feedback for the song. So it's definitely doing what it was intended for.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So you and I guess I guess we can pull the curtain back. I mean, you and I grew up together. We're relatives. I mean, you're from the same area I am. So, I mean, when I first started doing this, I mean, you were one of the people that I reached out to, before I even asked you about the song. And we talked a little bit about the missing, murdered, Indigenous women movement and everything that's been happening with that. I wanted to get your perspective, as an Indigenous woman, how do you feel about, what's your viewpoints on the Indigenous women movement, and even what we're doing on this channel to kind of highlight everyone and be inclusive of everyone?
Mm-hmm. I feel it is a beautiful thing that we need to have a voice and let people know that this is happening to thousands of Native American women, and not just Natives, but our other race that's out there are, and it's scary, and our voices need to be heard. And I think what you're doing is a really good thing, because we need that highlight of that, of our our children and our women. We need that highlight of like what their stories and their family stories to be heard, to be seen. And it's excellent that we have this movement going, and I support it 100%. And it's a beautiful thing to let everyone know, this is happening in this world, and it's happening in this timeline, and we need to be heard. Our women need to be heard as well. And it's a really good movement and a good cause. And we don't want to stop fighting for that. We need to be heard as well, and I believe that we should be heard.
Well, thank you for that. And it's funny because I had a question in my head while you were talking. I lost it, but maybe it'll circle back a little bit, because like it's really tough to do this when it comes to talking about cases, because I mean, I've told a lot of people that around this area, I mean, we've had death, we've had people go missing, but we've been fortunate enough to not experience too much of the missing and unanswered part of that. I mean, mm-hmm. And that's where we're fortunate here. But I mean, like I said, outside of outside of this community, there's a lot of that.
Yeah, there is, and it's a scary thing to think that someone in your own hometown going missing, and then you never find them. You have more of an awareness of watch your surroundings, what you're doing, and it's like you're constantly always have to be on your toes, and it's like, wow, back then we didn't have to do that, and now it's a real life thing. You see that, it's scary.
It is. So the question that I was going to ask you was that, I mean, for my job, it's me talking about. I talk about this a lot with with outside people, non-tribals, if you will, mm-hmm. or the non-Indigenous community. I mean, what has been your experience when it comes to talking about this kind of stuff with non-Indigenous people?
With non-Indigenous people, they don't understand a lot of it, and so they like to ask the questions of what are they doing, why are they doing this, and then they get into the political and the, how would you say it, the hysterical type of women being on drugs or being on alcohol, and they would turn around and say, you know, it's part of their fault because they were doing this. And, you know, I sat there and I listened to different other stories of, like, this one girl, she never drank and she never went out to party, and she ended up missing, and then they end up finding her body. And it's like, you try to tell our non-Native American friends that it's not just happening to people that are, you know, involved with alcohol or an addiction or anything type that way. And a lot of it has to do with being at home too as well. I mean, in an abusive relationship, it can go south either way.
Mm.
And you know, it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to, you know, come to us and ask us what's going on. Don't be afraid. I'd rather you have asked questions than sit there and assume something.
Mm.
And have your point of view. And, you know, everyone has their point of views on anything and any topic. And a lot of it, it's scary because they get offensive of this and they get offensive of that because you don't want to pull that race card into it. And it's like, no, we are human beings, and understand that we have families and we have loved ones. And it's not that stereotype of, you know, oh, we're just drunks and alcoholics and drug addicts. I can't even talk. But I try not to say that, and it's like, no, not a lot of it has to do with it. But, you know, at the same time, we don't know that when we go out or when we go socialize with family or on our way to a birthday party or a powwow or a round dance. You know, that sits in the back of your mind. Am I going to be able to get home because I'm by myself? And a lot of our non-Native friends, they sit there and they, you know, it's a scary topic to talk about because you don't know how they would feel or what we would say to them, and you try to educate them the best way you know how, and, you know, tell them to read up on it, follow these people, learn these people's stories before you assume something. And that's a lot of, you know, it's a really iffy topic to talk to anyone, and it shouldn't have to be that way.
Mm. You brought up something there that kind of made me really think about that, because, I mean, we're from the Indigenous community, and for me, like, it wasn't ever a thing to where, you know, whenever you went to powwows, whenever you went to stores and stuff like that, like, again, we're fortunate to live where we live and to be in the community that we are. But I mean, I didn't travel too much for, you know, powwows or anything like that. But I mean, do you have any sort of, like, memories from, you know, because I can assume that I'm only assuming that you were able to travel through the powwow circuit and all that stuff. So, I mean, was there any sort of feeling like that when you were out there? Any sort of feeling of, like, dread?
Yeah. Being a young woman and traveling along with your child, it was really scary because there would be some places where I had to stop and pull over and, you know, get gas or just pull off the road to get a couple of shut-eyes, and that dread of somebody coming up to you and trying to break in, and then, you know, going somewhere you don't know is a very scary thing. You know, growing up, my grandma always told me, make sure you tell somebody that you're going here and call me when you get there, or text me where you're at. I don't care what time it is. You know, everything was always make a step and make sure you follow. And it was scary, you know, to think that way, that people can really do that to you.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't care. And so there was, you know, I've traveled to many powwows outside of Utah, and it was scary, you know, going somewhere you don't know. Of course, you're really scared, and you really dread a lot of things, like, oh, I shouldn't stop here. And then you ask your relatives, you know, where's a good spot to stop to get gas or stop to sleep, and you know you're okay. You're out there in the world, and you don't know what will happen.
That's got to be difficult when it comes to traveling and stuff like that. And I do know how that is. You know, like you said, you have to ask your relatives that way, like where's a good place, stuff like that, because it seems like being native or indigenous in this country is it's a very scary thing right now. I mean, especially with the Black Lives Matter thing that that happened. You know, I mean, it's scary for any ethnicity at this point. For our perspective, you know, even being young, like, you know, it's got to be scary, especially out there right now.
Yes, and I believe that too. And even before it was like this, it was pretty scary because there was times, you know, when I would go to a powwow by myself, it would just be me, and I'd be cruising, and then, like, you know, I'd stop to get gas, and there would be men standing out there, and they would whistle at you and try to come to your window, and I had that happen one time, and it scared me, and, you know, that was the last time I ever traveled by myself.
Right.
And so it's always been me and my mom, and then when I married, it was always me and my ex-husband, and then my mom and my kids, and it's a very struggle and a hard thing to do, is to look out for your surroundings, watch what you're doing. I mean, even in town too, you know, I've heard that if you had like two little painted dots on your car, that's letting them know that you're a target. And I've heard that happened in South Dakota too. My sister lives up there, and she said a couple of her friends had those dots on her car, and they're like, what is that, you know? And then, you know,
Wow.
being a single mother, I have 4 children, and it's really difficult for me to gather my tribe and set them in the car. And it's like you watch your surroundings, and you watch who's watching you, or, you know, I carry pepper spray, and I've never had to do that, but I even worked in, you know, Flaming Gorge at one time, and I was being harassed, and it was scary by a police officer. And so from that day on, I always carried maize and, you know, pepper spray, whatever that kept me safe. And there was a point at one time where I was thinking about getting my gun license so I could carry a gun to protect myself as well. So it's to that point where you juggle, like, where you're going to go, who's there, who's watching you, and it's pretty scary.
I wanted to ask real quick, as an Indigenous woman growing up in the Indigenous community, I mean, was there, I know you've kind of touched on it a little bit here, but I mean, as an Indigenous girl, growing up on the reservation, was there any sort of things that your elders would teach you as a girl or a female, as opposed to what they would teach little boys when it comes to going out in the world?
It would have to do with a lot of check in, make sure you're okay, know who you're with, make sure you know their parents. Do I know their parents? What time are you going to be home? You know, don't trust anyone that you don't know. And that was the teaching of my grandmother. She would always tell the day up till she passed away, she would always make sure, you know, don't trust anybody, don't pick up strangers, don't talk to strangers, just get to point A to point B, make sure you're okay, you know, make sure you have blankets or water in the car. And a lot of times, you know, my mom too as well, be careful, watch, you know, like I said, watch your surroundings. And growing up, it was always told, you know, don't talk to strangers. And, you know, as a mother myself, you know, I try to teach my children that don't trust anybody, don't talk to them. You know, if there's somebody that comes into your bubble, scream. You know, that was the main thing too. If somebody came into your bubble, you immediately back off and you try to get away from them. But if you were caught up in by being taken, you scream and you fight till the end, if that was the thing you had to do, and protect yourself, protect the, you know, whoever's traveling with you, make sure they're okay, and make sure you always check in. That was the thing, was always check in, no matter where you stopped, or even if it was just to eat or sleep, you know, always call your people. And that was the thing they taught me, and I still do it till this day.
Yeah, that's definitely part of what I was taught as well. A lot of that too, and it is. It's one of those things that, like you said, you have to check in. You have to make sure that people know where you're at. I mean, and these really, honestly, it's not just the Indigenous community. I mean, these are tips that can go for everybody. You know, anybody. If you're going somewhere, let them know. You know, give everybody heads up when you stop, stuff like that. So, I mean, those are life lessons. I think though that were really, really, really hammered in as
Yeah.
Indigenous people. So I mean, I get that, and like I said, it's just one of those things that it's the world right now is just scary as is, you know, as opposed to as opposed to 20 years ago when we were kids. But I mean, still, from where I'm gathering, it's always been this scary.
Yeah, it's what I've been told too. My mom told me, like, there were still serial killers back in our day. I'm like, hey. I'm like, what? And she's talking about that, and she's like, I could have went to school with Ted Bundy. And I was like, what, Mom? Because she went to law school, and so she's like, I've seen that. I've heard of it. That was during my time. I was like, dang.
Dang, she would have been classmates with Ted Bundy, huh?
Yeah. And I was like, wow, Mom, that's pretty scary. Because I know. I mean, it's not a laughing matter, but it's pretty scary.
I know, right? Oh, well, I do appreciate you taking the time to sit down and like I said, giving out these life lessons like this to all of our youth that are listening, all of our, people that are the same age as us, people that are our elders and stuff like that listen. These are really good tips as is. I mean, even if you're not Indigenous, these definitely are tips to live by and to try to keep and teach to your kids and stuff like that. And again, like I said, I want to say thank you for the song. But speaking of songs, you in fact are a recording artist. Do you want to talk a little bit about that before we ship off?
Yeah, sure.
It's your time to promote.
It's time to promote. Well, I have a CD called The Journey Begins, and I was nominated for one of the songs. I think it was called It's a Bright Day. I can't remember. I would have to grab one of my CDs. It's been a while, but I was nominated for the Best Individual Artist for 2019, the Native American Grammys, or Nannies. I wish it was the Grammys.
I know, right? You'll get there. You'll get there.
I'll get there someday. But I will be having I'm coming out with new songs, a new CD. I kind of don't want it just to be, mostly round dance and mostly the game. I kind of want it to be like, our hip hop, our R&B style. But I want to put my own style into it to where it's me. That's who I am, and talk a little bit more about my life, my siblings, my children, the things that we go through on a day-to-day basis, being a single mother, the struggles and, the ups, the downs, the perfects, the yes, the no's, and, a lot of it has to, that inspires me, what goes on in my life. I want to make music to touch people and, to have them say, like, I relate to that song. I do, and go somewhere with it. Not just that, but I was always told at the same time, have an education so that way you can fall back on that as well. And this right now is my dream. This is my dream, and I hold on to it. But at the same time, I'm getting a career in cosmetology. That way, I could fall back on it if it doesn't work out.
Right.
Educate yourself. Go to school. Learn all that you can as a Native American, as an individual, as being a woman, being a young man. You want to be educated in this world, so that way we can stand there and fight for what's wrong and what's right for our people, and to have our people be heard. And through music, to be an artist, to set your art out there and be able to touch people, move people, motivate people. And when they're sad or angry, you can feel that feel that song and, it lifts you up. And I want to be able to do that for my people. And not just that, our young ones, our youth as well, that you can do whatever you want as long as you put your mind to it, set your goals, and you can achieve anything in this world. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't, because you can. You can do it, and you have your family behind you supporting you, even if it's a rapper, a singer, artist, hairstylist, a lawyer. You can reach your goals and achieve it. You have your people behind you, encouraging you, and don't forget that. And, that's what I want our youth to know, that you are loved, that you are wanted, and that everything will be okay. And you can achieve anything that you put your mind to. And it's okay to fail once in a while. It's okay to fail and pick yourself back up and try again. It's never too late to try again. And I just wanted to say that because, I had a lot of that in my life, where my mother was always there telling me, you can do it, you can do it. And when I failed, she picked me back up, and I picked myself back up, and I did it again. And, a lot of our grandfathers, our grandmothers, they're our teachers, and they motivate us to do things. So, I want them, want the youth to know that you can do it. You'll be all right. And with my music, I achieved that goal to be nominated for something, and that was amazing. And I want my kids to know that they can do it too. They can do it. If mom could do it, you can do it.
Mm.
And that goes for anyone. If I could do it, you could do it.
Wow. I believe in you. You'll always have my support. And like I said, always have my gratitude. So that being said, where can people hear your music? Where can we all go to kind of keep updates on you and what you're doing in your career?
So you can follow me on Facebook at Raenisa Ridley. And then you could follow me on Instagram. Right now we are not promoting the CD. I still have to learn about putting my music out there, but I do put songs on Facebook to let people know that this is going to be on the next album. But, be sure to look out for that. And you can follow me on Snapchat. I'm always posting music on there. If you want a CD, you can purchase it from me. Just inbox me on Facebook, and I'll give you a CD. Old school.
Hey, all right.
I need to figure out how to put it on iTunes, Spotify. I should be learning.
Good luck with that. With this podcast, I've had a lot of challenges just trying to get on Apple Podcast. Bad enough, I'm having issues. Like, I've gotten on every other platform except Apple Podcast, but we're getting there. We'll get there someday.
Yeah, that's the goal, is to get it out there. And it's difficult when you go through school and go through a lot of home life, your home life you got to take care of. And so you're like,
Oh, yeah. I know that very well.
But thank you. I'm very honored. And, the kind words that you said to me means a lot to me. Even though we're relatives and we grew up together, that means a lot. It really makes me happy and makes me feel good. Thank you. I just want to say thank you for letting me come on here and give a little bit of knowledge to, our youth and, our women and children and men as well. Be careful, be safe, and,
Absolutely. And again, thank you from my end. I mean, it means one thing to hear it from our elders, but I think at the same time, it's just as powerful when it comes to somebody that's closer to the youth. I mean, it's weird to think that we're no longer the youth anymore, but
it does. It's like, what? I'm not the youth anymore.
I know, right? When they say youth, I always think like, oh, they're talking to me. Oh, no, they're not talking to me anymore. I'm just old and out of the way.
We're in the generation where our mom and dad used to be. So.
Oh, don't remind me. All right. Well, I'll better let you get running. So, but again, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Thank you so much for, like I said, giving those tips and sharing your stories. And I'm going to keep putting you over, and I'm going to keep giving people updates as well here on the show. Like I said, if you're interested in Raenisa's journey and everything and her music and stuff like that, definitely we're going to keep plugging Raenisa here on the show, so that way you guys can all keep up and follow. And hopefully someday soon, we'll be on the we'll be sitting there at the Grammys together. So you never know.
Yeah, we never know. We got this.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much for talking today. So I'll have to catch up with you later.
Alrighty, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, thank you, Raenisa, Ridley, dancing the inner tribal. Oh, Raenisa, you got my powwow voice going. Once again, Raenisa, thank you so much for coming on to the show, for so much of what you did, and I can feel it through both your music, the way you talk about everything, and like I said, I hope you make it to the Grammys, because I'm going to be right there with you. I'm going to ride your coattails, all right? I'm riding your feathered fan with you. I'm going to be posting up Raenisa's platforms, all of her social media stuff, so that way you guys can keep informed and keep up to date on what Raenisa's doing. And I hope that you guys like to keep updated and keep informed with everything that we're doing here on the show, because I've got so much fun episodes. I've got so many cases coming up. I have a lot of good interviews coming up here in the upcoming season. And I hope that you guys are just as excited to have me back, because I'm just as excited to bring you guys so much great content. And hopefully the next time won't be a 3-month break. And you know what? Keep an eyeball out. Like I said, if you guys know a case, or you guys are interested in me covering a case, you guys can always email me. I love hearing out from all of my fans, on any of my social network platforms. You can find us on Facebook at One Missing, One Murdered, All Indigenous. You can find us here on YouTube. You can find us on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcasts. And I'm working so hard to get us on Google Apple Podcast. Yeah, that's easy for me to say. You guys can also send us cases and things that you guys would want to hear at our direct email, which is trueindigenouscrimepod@gmail.com, which I'll have down in the description below. God, I'm so glad to be back. I'm so excited to bring you guys brand new content, brand new cases, and keep an eyeball out for every episode, because I'm going to hope to bring out new episodes every couple of weeks, so that way you guys keep up to date. And let's keep this ball rolling. Also, real quick side note, I want to say thank you again to everybody that's kind of come out as we work on the next upcoming podcast that's coming out from this, which is called Scary Stories to Tell from the Res. But that's in a later episode. Maybe sometime this week, we'll sit down with somebody and we'll talk about it on here. We'll help promote. Who knows? So thank you guys again. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Raenisa, for the theme song. Thank you for everybody that's shown all your love, all of your support. And I hope you guys all have a good day. May the Creator bless you all and help you all continue on to be healthy, safe, and go on in a good way. Thank you so much. Have a good one, guys.